You are here now. There is nothing you need to prepare for, nothing you need to improve, and nothing that has to change before this moment can be allowed. You don't have to arrive in a better mood. You don't have to quiet your thoughts first. You don't have to fix the day you've had. You can come exactly as you are. Even if your mind feels busy, or your body feels tired, or something inside you feels unsettled, that is not a problem here. This space does not require a different version of you. It simply meets you. And as you begin listening, you might notice the gentle presence of sound beneath these words. A soft current moving quietly in the background, not asking for attention, just offering warmth. There is no right way to listen. You can lie down. You can sit upright. You can close your eyes or leave them open. You can drift in and out. Nothing is being measured. Nothing is being evaluated. This is not a performance. You are not being graded on how well you relax. You are simply being held in a moment where nothing is required from you. And if you notice tension in your body, you do not have to fight it. If you notice a thought you don't like, you do not have to push it away. Even rest does not have to be earned here. Just let the weight of your body be what it is. Let gravity do what it does. Let your breathing find its own rhythm without instruction. There is already enough happening. There is already enough. You don't need to add effort to this. You can soften a little. And if softening feels too far away, you can simply notice that too. There's room for all of it. Room for the tiredness. Room for the noise. Room for the uncertainty. Nothing is outside this space. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything required to be here. You are already here. And that is enough. Even if your mind has been moving all day, and it feels like it hasn't really had a place to land, you don't have to do anything about that right now. And you don't have to bring it to a stop in order to be here. Thoughts can continue. They can move in the background, just like they've been moving without needing to be followed, and without needing to be pushed away, and without needing to be organized into something that makes sense. There is nothing here that requires you to quiet your mind before you can settle into this moment. You're allowed to arrive in the middle of it, right in the middle of whatever is already happening. And sometimes, just allowing that, just letting things be as they are without stepping in to manage them, is where something in the body begins to shift on its own, without effort, without direction. You don't have to catch up to anything. You don't have to reach a certain state. You don't have to become more calm than you are. This moment is already open, already here, already available to you exactly as it is. You are not late to it. You are already inside it. And there's nothing you need to do to stay here. Nothing you need to hold together. Nothing you need to maintain. You don't have to keep this moment stable. You don't have to make sure it lasts, even if your mind begins to move again, or something shifts, or a thought pulls your attention. Nothing is lost. Nothing breaks. This doesn't disappear just because something changes. You don't have to protect this space. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to make sure you're doing it right. You can let it be as natural as breathing, coming and going, shifting and settling, without needing to hold on to any part of it. And as that pressure drops, even just a little, the body may begin to recognize that it doesn't have to stay alert in the same way. It doesn't have to keep scanning. It doesn't have to keep preparing. It can soften, even if only slightly. Even if only one small place. That's enough. Nothing here requires more than that. If today felt like a lot, in ways that are easy to explain, or maybe in ways that are harder to name, you don't have to carry all of it right now. You don't have to keep holding it in the same way, even if nothing has been resolved, even if there are still things unfinished, even if there are parts of the day that are still sitting with you. You are allowed to set some of that down. Not forever, not all at once, just here, just for now. There is no rule that says you have to hold everything continuously in order for it to matter. You don't have to keep replaying anything to understand it. You don't have to keep revisiting something to make sure you didn't miss anything. You don't have to stay mentally connected to everything that happened in order for it to have been real. Some things can simply rest, even if they aren't complete, even if they aren't clear, even if they haven't been figured out. You can let them rest. And as you begin to loosen your grip, even slightly, even in a small, almost unnoticeable way, you might feel that reflected somewhere in the body. A small shift, a slight drop in effort, place where something softens without you trying to make it happen. You don't have to search for it. You don't have to scan for relaxation. You don't have to check if it's working. If something softens, it softens. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Nothing here depends on that. There is no outcome you need to reach. There is no state you need to arrive at. You can simply be here while things settle down in their own time. And even if only a small part of you is willing to let go of a little bit of what you are holding, that is enough. More than enough. There is no requirement to do this completely. No expectation to do this perfectly. Just this moment. Just this small shift. Just this space where nothing is being asked of you. You are allowed to rest. Not later. Not when everything is finished. Not when everything makes sense. But here. Now. In the middle of things being incomplete. In the middle of things still unfolding. In the middle of not knowing, you are allowed to rest here. Resting doesn't mean everything has to stop. It doesn't mean your thoughts disappear. It doesn't mean your body suddenly becomes calm. Rest can happen underneath all of that, quietly, without needing conditions to change. You don't have to earn this. You don't have to reach a certain point in your day. You don't have to complete anything first. Rest is not something given to you after everything is handled. It is something available even while things are still open. Even while things are still unresolved. Even while something in you still feels active. You are allowed to soften here, even if only slightly. Even if it feels unfamiliar. Even if part of you is still holding on. You don't have to force yourself to let go. You don't have to convince yourself to relax. You don't have to do this completely. You can rest partially. You can soften partially. You can allow just a small shift. And that is enough. There is no minimum requirement. No threshold you have to cross before this becomes valid. Even a small moment of rest counts fully. Even a small drop in effort is real. Even a slight softening is enough. And you don't have to hold it in place. You don't have to make sure it continues. You don't have to protect it. If it comes and goes, that's okay. If it shifts, that's okay. If it disappears and returns later, that's okay. Nothing is being lost. Nothing is being undone. Rest doesn't need to be maintained to be real. You can trust it to come and go in its own way. And you can be here with it, however it shows up. You don't have to figure anything out right now. Nothing needs to be solved in this moment. Nothing needs to be decided. Even if something has been sitting in your mind, turning over, coming back again and again, you don't have to reach an answer here. You don't have to arrive at clarity. You don't have to come to a conclusion. This moment is not asking you to resolve anything. And sometimes there is a quiet pressure to keep thinking, to keep searching, to keep trying to land somewhere definite, as if staying with the question is not enough, as if not knowing is something that needs to be corrected. But you don't have to move out of not knowing. You don't have to replace it with certainty. You don't have to fill the space with an answer. You can let things remain open, even if that feels unfamiliar. Even if part of you wants to close the loop, you don't have to close anything right now. You don't have to finalize anything. You don't have to make sense of everything before you're allowed to be here. You can be here in the middle of things being unclear, in the middle of things still forming, in the middle of something that doesn't yet have shape. And nothing about that makes this moment incomplete. Nothing about not knowing makes you behind. Nothing about uncertainty removes your place here. You don't have to rush toward understanding. You don't have to force meaning. You don't have to push toward resolution. You can let things take the time they take. You can let answers arrive when they arrive, or not arrive yet, and that still be okay, and still be allowed to rest here, still be allowed to soften, even without clarity, even without resolution, even without answers. And as that pressure to figure things out begins to loosen, even slightly, something else may begin to settle. Not because everything is known, but because nothing is being forced. And that is enough. More than enough. You are allowed to take up space in your own experience without adjusting yourself to make it easier, without needing to become quieter or simpler or more contained in order to be here. You don't have to reduce yourself to fit into this moment. You don't have to make yourself smaller to feel acceptable. You don't have to smooth out your edges. You don't have to present a version of yourself that is easier to hold. There is room here for all of it. For what feels clear. For what feels uncertain. For what feels settled. And for what still feels in motion. Nothing about your experience needs to be edited before it can belong here. Nothing needs to be filtered. Nothing needs to be reshaped. You are allowed to be exactly as you are and still be held. Even the parts that feel unfinished. Even the parts that feel inconsistent. Even the parts that don't quite make sense yet. They don't have to be resolved to be included. They don't have to be understood to be allowed. They don't have to be changed to be held. And as you begin to notice that, even just a little, something may begin to soften around the need to manage yourself, the need to adjust, the need to get it right. That effort can begin to loosen. Not all at once, not completely, just enough to fill a little more space, a little more room. And within that space, within that quiet opening, you may begin to sense something steady, something that doesn't move when everything else moves, something that doesn't shift when thoughts shift, something that doesn't withdraw when things feel unclear. You don't have to find it. You don't have to reach for it. It's already here, already present, holding all of this exactly as it is. And even in this moment, just as it is held. All of this is held in love. carry more than we realize, not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it shows up as tension that we don't notice right away. Sometimes as a quiet pressure to keep going, to keep up, to stay steady, even when something underneath is asking for space. And it's easy to believe that this is just how it has to be, that we need to hold everything together, that we need to stay on top of things, that we need to keep moving in order to be okay. But none of that is a requirement for being here. None of that determines your place in this moment. We all move through times where things feel unclear, where energy shifts, where something feels off without a clear reason, where the mind returns to the same places again and again, and it can feel isolating, like something is different about this moment, like something isn't quite right. But this is not outside of anything. This is not separate from how things unfold. This is a part of being here, part of being human, part of moving through experiences that don't always resolve right away. We all have moments where things don't land cleanly, where something lingers, where something stays open longer than expected. And nothing about that places you outside of anything. Nothing about that means you've fallen behind. Nothing about that means you've lost your way. It simply means you are moving through something, just like everyone does in their own way. And even here, even in this, nothing is outside the space that holds all of this. All of this is held in love. We often measure ourselves without realizing it, against where we thought we would be, against where someone else seems to be, against a version of life that feels more complete, more certain, more settled. And those measurements can feel quiet at first, almost automatic. A subtle sense that something is missing, or that something should be further along, or that something hasn't quite come together yet. And it can create a kind of distance between where we are and where we think we should be. A distance that feels real. A distance that feels important. But that distance is not something you have to cross in order to belong here. You don't have to close that gap before this moment can hold you. You don't have to become more aligned with an expectation before you are allowed to rest. We all experience that pull, that sense of being just slightly off, just slightly behind, just slightly outside of where things are supposed to be. But there is no single place you are meant to arrive at. No fixed point that determines whether you've made it. No line that separates on track from off track. There is only movement, only unfolding, only moments that continue to open, whether they match an expectation or not. And you are already inside that, already part of that unfolding, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if the mind says otherwise, even if comparison returns again. Nothing about comparison removes you from this. Nothing about feeling behind places you outside of anything. You are not outside of the moment just because it doesn't match an idea. You are not outside of your life just because it doesn't look the way you thought it would. You are still here, still part of this, still included in everything that is unfolding. And even this feeling, even the sense of distance, all of this is held in love. Begin to notice the weight of your body, not changing anything, not adjusting anything, just noticing the way the body is already being supported, the way it is already resting in whatever position you're in. You don't have to place it differently. You don't have to hold it in a certain way. You don't have to improve how it feels. Just let it be exactly as it is. And notice the places where your body meets the surface beneath you. The points of contact. Where something is being held. Where something is being supported without effort from you. Let those areas receive just a little more of your weight, not by pushing, not by pressing, just by allowing. Allowing the body to give up a small amount of effort, even if it's barely noticeable, even if it happens slowly, even if it only happens in one place. That's enough. There is no need to release everything. No need to fully relax. Just letting one small area soften is already enough. And as you notice that, you might begin to feel how much the body has been holding without being asked. How much it has been carrying quietly, continuously. And how little it actually needs to do right now. There is nothing to hold together here, nothing to maintain, nothing to stabilize. The surface beneath you is already doing that. You don't have to help it. You don't have to assist it. You don't have to stay engaged in the same way. You can let yourself be supported, even if only slightly. Even if a part of you is still holding on. Even if a part of you is unsure how to let go. That's okay. You don't have to force that either. Just notice what is already happening. The weight. The contact. The quiet support beneath you. And allow that to be enough. Now begin to notice your breathing. Not changing it, not shaping it, just aware that it's happening. The body is already breathing. It knows how to do that without your help. You don't have to guide it. You don't have to deepen it. You don't have to make it slower or more calm. You can let it be exactly as it is and just stay with it. The natural rise, the natural fall, the way it comes in, the way it leaves. Nothing to control, nothing to adjust, just movement and space. You might notice that each breath arrives on its own, and leaves on its own without needing to be held, without needing to be continued. There may be small moments of stillness, not something you create, just something that appears. Brief, quiet, unforced. And you can let those moments be there without trying to extend them, without trying to hold on to them, just noticing that they exist. And as your attention rests here on something this simple, something that doesn't require effort, the body may begin to settle in a different way. Not because you made it happen, not because you did it correctly, but because nothing is being asked of it. Nothing is being added. Nothing is being pushed. And that absence of effort can begin to feel like space, a little more room, a little less pressure to stay engaged. You don't have to stay focused. You don't have to follow every breath. If your attention moves away, that's okay. If thoughts come and go, that's okay. Nothing here is being disrupted. Nothing is being lost. You can drift. You can return. You can move in and out of awareness without needing to hold on to anything. The breath continues. The body continues. Everything continues without your effort. And you can rest here with that. Or drift. Or soften. Or simply remain. However it happens. And from here, there can be a quiet shift. Not something you force, not something you create, just something that begins to settle on its own. What has been spoken, what has been felt, doesn't need to stay outside. It can begin to land a little closer, a little more internally, without effort, without repetition, without needing to convince yourself of anything. And you may begin to notice that some of these words start to feel less like something you're hearing and more like something you're recognizing, something familiar, something already there, and without needing to push it, without needing to make it stronger, you might begin to sense, I can be here like this. I don't have to change anything first. I don't have to become something else in order to stay. I don't have to improve this moment for it to be enough. And even if that feels subtle, even if it feels quiet, that's okay. It doesn't have to feel strong. It doesn't have to feel certain. It can feel light. It can feel barely noticeable and still be real. I can let things be as they are and still remain here. I can allow this moment without needing to shape it. I can stay without needing to hold everything together. And nothing is asking me to do more than that. Nothing is asking me to go further. Nothing is asking me to make this deeper. This is already enough. Exactly as it is. And I can stay here for as long as I'm here, without needing to measure it, without needing to keep track of it, without needing to do it correctly. Just here, just like this. And as this continues to settle, you may begin to notice that nothing here needs to be pushed away. Not the thoughts that come and go, not the feelings that shift, not the parts that feel clear or unclear. Nothing needs to be removed in order for this to remain. I don't have to separate myself from anything that's happening. I don't have to divide this moment into what should stay and what should go. I can let all of it exist without needing to manage it, without needing to organize it, without needing to resolve it. and even the parts that feel uncertain, even the parts that feel unfinished, even the parts that don't quite make sense yet, can remain here too. Nothing is outside of this. Nothing is excluded. Not the quiet, not the movement, not the ease, not the tension. It can all be here. I don't have to hold it together. I don't have to keep track of it. I don't have to make sure it stays in place. Because something deeper than that is already holding it, already allowing it, already including all of it without effort. And I don't have to reach for that. I don't have to find it. I don't have to understand it. It's already here, already present, already steady beneath everything that moves. And in that, there can be a quiet recognition. Not something new, not something added, just something noticed. That nothing has been outside of this. Nothing has been separate. Nothing has been missing from what is already here. And what holds all of this? What allows all of this to be exactly as it is not divided, not conditional, not limited. The oneness of the universe is love. And from here, nothing needs to be rushed. Nothing needs to be picked back up all at once. You don't have to move quickly out of this space. You don't have to transition into something else immediately. You can take your time. Even as this moment begins to shift, even as attention begins to move, even as the body begins to prepare to re-engage. You don't have to leave this behind. Nothing here needs to be dropped. Nothing here needs to be replaced. This doesn't disappear when you move. This doesn't fade when your attention shifts. This remains available, not as something you hold on to, but as something that remains underneath. And you can move from here in your own way. at your own pace, without needing to force anything forward, without needing to push yourself into clarity, without needing to create momentum. You can move gently. You can move slowly. You can move without leaving yourself behind. And even if the next moment feels different, even if things begin to pick back up again, even if the mind becomes active, nothing has been lost. Nothing has been undone. You don't have to return to effort in the same way. You don't have to return to holding everything together. You can let some of that remain softened, even while you move, even while you think, even while things continue. There is a quiet trust in that. Not something you build, not something you force, just something that becomes a little more familiar, a little more natural, a little more available each time you return here. And you don't have to do that perfectly. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to make sure it stays. You can let it come and go and still know that it's here, that it remains, that you can return without needing to start over. And all of this continues to be held. And from here, there is nothing more you need to do, nothing you need to complete, nothing you need to arrive at. This moment doesn't require an ending. It doesn't need to resolve. It doesn't need to transition into something else. It can simply continue, just like this, quietly, naturally, without needing to be shaped, without needing to be finished. And you can remain here in whatever way feels natural. You don't have to stay focused. You don't have to stay aware. You don't have to follow anything all the way through. You can drift. You can rest. You can let your attention move without needing to bring it back. Nothing here depends on that. Nothing here is being lost. The body continues. The breath continues. Everything continues without your effort. And you can let yourself be part of that without needing to hold on to anything, without needing to keep anything in place. Just resting inside what is already happening. And even as this continues, even as things shift, even as awareness changes, nothing moves outside of what holds it. Nothing leaves. Nothing separates. Nothing is removed. And you don't have to track that. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to keep it in mind. It remains, whether you notice it or not. You can soften into that, or drift into that, or simply remain here without needing to name it at all. Still here, still breathing, nothing missing, nothing required. All of this held in love.